Dobbs Davis from Seahorse Magazine, giving you our Day 10 race analysis report from the Transpac 2021. This is Friday, the 23rd of July, and as you can see by our tracker images, the wind is really ripping now. Lots of oranges out on the race course. Boats are going very fast. It's a continuation of the same theme, and maybe more so. Boats out here, instead of reporting 15 to 20 knots, they're more up to 18 to 24 knots, and in some cases higher in some squalls. We'll talk about that a little more in a minute. But the big picture is on the 4-hour tracker delay. You can see that everybody's on a downwind leg of the course. They are treating this like a leeward leg with jibing on shifts. Some longer tracks that suggest for the faster boats, maybe they don't jibe quite as much. Their apparent wind is quite far forward, so their jibe angles are different than for the slower boats, which are more traditional in their angles. And the race crowns are on top of the same boats as yesterday. Warrior 1, Bad Pack, actually, I think they had a crown. And who's this over here? Good Energy, a great team, local guys from Cabrillo Beach. Pelagroso has a crown now. And Grand Illusion, they had a crown yesterday. They're sailing well. And back over here at Triumph, it's interesting because this one's flip-flopping back and forth between Triumph and Horizon. These two are really in a battle. Both of them are Santa Cruz 52s. They're both veterans of this race. They know their boats well, and they're really having quite a tight fight out there. The lead is switching back and forth with each tracker sked. And then back in here is Favonius from the Division 8 group, and they're in corrected time doing quite well and just sailing down the race course, minimizing distance from rumline and just sailing straight down the track. A couple of news items. Yes, we have some boats over here that are parked at the dock. I will show you a photo of a happy team who came in here last night at about 3 in the morning. So the Pyewacket team and the Volvo 70 that's been turbocharged with a mast that's 3 meters taller and a keel that's 2 meters deeper and lots of sail area. As Roy Disney says, this makes a Volvo 70 look more lively, and certainly it did. Their great accomplishment actually wasn't in setting an elapsed time record. That was going to be hard to do against a 100-foot boat with the existing record from Comanche, which was 5 days and 2 hours, I believe. But they finished an impressive 5 days and 16 hours for an average run down the race course. I think it was a little under 17 knots, so pretty impressive. And then one thing they did interesting was they set what they believe is a 24-hour distance record. So yesterday, in fact, why don't we do this on the tracker and show you what they did. In fact, we'll revert over to the 200-mile version, which gives us live approaches. And there's just another story to tell about that, but we'll go back in time to see where Pyewacket was. And does this one refresh? Let's see here. Okay, so that's where they cross the 200-mile radius, and so that tells you where 200 miles is out of Diamond Head. Let me zoom in a little here to show this in a little more detail. Okay, now going forward, if this will work. Oh, here we are. Okay. So here is here's our Division 8 leader, Ho'okolohe. I think I got that right finally. They're kind of plumbing down the run line, fairly narrow jibe angles and just minimizing the distance. Meanwhile, Pyewacket is going quite fast at very different angles. You can see by that rate of speed, they're really going fast. But in this final approach, in fact, you know what? We need to go back out to the other tracker scale to see this. They decided that they're not going to set a course record outright. They're simply just not big enough and fast enough, even though they've got fantastic breeze. They're unlikely to win a corrected time victory in the ratings game. So they said, you know what we could do? We could set ourselves up to get a 24-hour speed record and set it up in a way that, that's achievable, which for them, looking back here, starts out way out to sea. In fact, I have to go out a little more. So basically, they set themselves out way out here in the corner and then said, okay, if we're going to do our 24-hour record run, we need to not jibe, sail as fast as we can on whatever, we don't really care about VMG so much because they knew that they were going to have a hard time with minimizing mileage just to chip away at a corrected time victory. So they said, let's get out in the corner here. The breeze is steady, and let's just send it and go as fast as we can for 24 hours and see what we can do. So that was their strategy. And a little bit of wiggles in their course. That's just, probably the odd squall here and there and little tiny wind shifts. But over that course, and I'll confirm that with Peter Eisler once he wakes up. I think he hit the dock pretty exhausted early this morning. Is that is probably 24 hours. And guess what? It's 503 miles, I believe it was. So they did set that record. The average was something like 21.1 knots. And as Roy Disney says, he loved to set that one because it was previously held by his good friend and ex-navigator Stan Honey. So these guys are all friends and rivals, and it was really cool to see, and they really enjoyed it, and came in about 3 o'clock this morning. Next boat in, and we'll zoom out. Next boat in was the mixed California-Hawaiian team, and Ho'okolehe. They had a great sunrise, actually a little bit after sunrise finish. And I'm going to show you a spectacular photo that Sharon Green took of these guys this morning. And this is a Farr 57. This is not a sled. It's not a TP52. It's a cruising boat. And look at that wake and look at that speed. These guys were really hauling. This was actually just short of Diamond Head. I don't know exactly where, probably maybe off of Hawaii Kai or between Cocoa Head and Diamond Head. But as you can see, they are absolutely ripping. There'll be more photos like this posted on our website and our galleries, but I just wanted to show this to you all because it's really inspiring and it captures what is really the essence of finishing a great race like this in this way. It's just stunning. So hope you all like that. And for those that haven't done this race, maybe that'll help inspire you to come do it. It's really great. And then one other story I have isn't so great. Now we're on the 4-hour tracker, right? So next in the queue out here to come into the finish line in third was this boat Lucky. It's a Udall Rolex 72. And, with a 4-hour delay, you look at this and you go, well, yeah, no problem. Those guys are going 18 knots and they're speeding right along. Well, I'll show you the problem. If you go to the live tracker, you'll see, because it had us stumped here for a while, is what's going on now, or what we discovered actually less than an hour ago. Well, first off, look at the breeze here in the Molokai Channel. It is really ripping out there. I mean, it's 30, every bit of 30. Big seas. When it's like this here in this channel, it can get to 8 to 10 foot seas, and they're a little bit confused because of the direction of the wind changes slightly due to the effects of the islands. and there's current through here that can also be at a little bit of an angle to the wind, and it's a pretty wild place. I mean, most folks have heard of Molokai Channel and know about it, and there's a reason. And unfortunately, the folks on Lucky discovered that. As you can see, their speed is 2.3 knots. Well, why is that? Unfortunately, they broke their rudder. So they are drifting out there now. Everybody is safe. We haven't heard any reports of injuries, but it's a tough day for them, especially being so close to the finish line and almost certainly within sight of Oahu and almost within sight of the finish at Diamond Head. So our hearts go out to the team, Brian Earhart and his team on Lucky. It's just got to be terrible to work that hard. They were actually winning in corrected time in their division, Division One, and then just had this disaster happen. We'll learn more about what exactly happened. It may have been probably was making a final jibe. I mean, in these big seas and in these conditions, it's not easy. And the more experienced guys are better at it because they've done this many times. Those that are relatively new to this or in boats they're not familiar with, it's tricky. So anyway, we wanted to report that. That's kind of breaking news. They're going to get towed into Honolulu Harbor and should be safe in a few hours. But anyway, we do feel for them. Next up out here is Warrior One, Chris Sheehan's Pac 52. This boat's been on this course before, although it's the first time for Chris Sheehan and his team. They've got plenty of good sailors on board, and we're hoping that when they get into this position in the Molokai Channel and see this 30 and even greater amount of wind in here, they're gonna be conservative. There's no they're wearing the crown now for their division, which is Division 3, and I haven't looked at the corrected time deltas at that stage and what sort of margin they have or think they have, but making final approach in here. Let's just hope they do it right and they do it safe. As I say, this is a proven boat on this course. These Pac 52s are specifically designed for this race course. Little factoid that those who may be new to this. The whole class, Transpac 52s, TP 52s, a lot of folks know from racing in Europe or in the Med or all over the world for that matter. That class started here with this race just about 20 years ago. It was a concept that the Transpac Yacht Club organizers had to modernize their fleet and encourage the development of new modern boats. And basically they wanted to have first to finish boats that were more modern in style than the traditional sleds that have been used for years out here in this race. So they invented this new class. A bunch of designers jumped in, built boats, and within a few years, the class took off. And not so much here on the West Coast. It's interesting because these boats were definitely built for offshore sailing. They became really a fun inshore boat and evolved in that direction, especially after the IMS 50 class in Spain and in the Med chose to adopt the TP 52s in about 2006, I think it was. And the center of gravity of the class moved over there. The boats were developed more for day racing or short coastal racing. And that's where the 52 Super Series boats are now. But a bit of a revival back to the offshore capable boats came to the West Coast a few years ago with the advent of this Pac 52 class boat. Again, very similar, almost the same as TPs, but built with a little more freeboard and a little bit more capability of some serious offshore sailing. So we wish the Warrior One guys the best of luck. Sharon Green and her team actually wants them to slow down so that their 3 a.m. arrival might be closer to, let's say, 6 when there's some light and they can get some great images, because there's nothing more evocative than seeing an image of a TP or Pac 52 coming through the straits at high speeds. But in any case, we wish them best of luck. I think that's... Oh, and I just had one other thing that I thought was interesting. Let's see. We'll go back out here to the big picture and use this clever windy wind prediction app. Now remember, as I've been saying all along, what you're seeing on the screen here represents a current time analysis of, or let's say prediction or model prediction of what the wind is doing out on the course. But when you scroll, and it doesn't really represent what these, what's happening with the boats here as we were showing, because those are 4-hour delays. So a little bit of a gap there in what they're seeing and what these boats were doing at that time and place. However, what I thought was interesting was going out in the future. If this race were sailed a week from now, what would this race course look like? And it's a very different place. So, things happen with timing. The high is now all split and fractionated, and it's. And look at this over here, folks. This is like some massive low pressure here. It could be just the world's largest Catalina eddy or some other weird thing. But look at all the blue. Very light air, very adverse wind directions, very strange conditions. This is not the same race course. And of course, down here, the other feature is one of those tropical lows has developed enough to maybe come into the race area. Let's see, I think it's in the next one. And sure enough, look at it approaching Hawaii. And when these things come, they usually pass just to the south, but they leave an effect in the islands. Typically it's like you look at here, very windy off of South Point and the Big Island. There might be tropical storm or tropical depression warnings, wind speeds, rainfall, and that sort of thing. But an acceleration here, certainly, reinforcing the trades with the synoptic wind around this low. But the rest of the islands and up in here, they get really strange, weird light air, almost reverse trade wind or no trade wind conditions. They call that the Kona, and that doesn't make for very fast Transpac finishes either. We've had a few of these in the past. It's been weird. They scream all the way up here and then kind of stop. The other big artifact is big southerly swells, so it's great for the surfers along the south shores of these islands. But like I believe it was a 2013 race, or was it 2015? I think it was 15. There was a similar situation, big swells coming into the south-facing harbors, and this harbor at Alawai actually closed out. They wouldn't let any boats that had finished into the harbor because the harbor entrance closed out due to the huge swell out there. So that was frustrating for a lot of teams who, again, worked really hard to get across the finish line. They're right there within the lights and the beaches and all the activity of civilization right there at Waikiki, and they can't get in. So anyway, so that's why I'm saying this Transpac is really a special one, and having great wind and no weird things on the course like other years. So I think that'll wrap it up for now. Tomorrow will be a very busy show. We've got a lot of boats coming in, both Saturday and Sunday. So this is Dobbs Davis reporting for now, and I'll say so long and hope to see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in.